for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Based on the amount of people in the audience, I'd say everybody's getting ready for the holidays. As you can see up here, there's only four of us. Ms. O'Connor and Kyle are excused, as is Jameson. We thought he might call in, but so far he hasn't. So those three are excused. We do have a quorum, so we can do business. So let's start with additions and deletions, and I'll start with an addition to add to the consent agenda, item number 17, motion to allow the Downtown Development Authority to put in for the Michigan Spark grant application. Support. Okay. The reason this is on here like this, Ross came to me, and the deadline for getting this in, I believe, is the 19th. So they had to get it on. And they did find out the reason they're going for this is to use the funds, if they get them, for Lions Park. The DDA has some concepts to improve it from basically a blank lot with just a GI on it to something really nice. So hopefully we'll get this grant, and that'll help us towards that goal. So, any questions? Seeing none. All in favor of adding the Downtown Development Authority motion for the Michigan Spark grant application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. And Ross thanks you, believe me. Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to delete action item number 4, which was the Taxiway A East Pavement and Lighting Reconstruction Bid Award.
Support.
The reason for that is that the bids came in well over the budget. Ms. McNee contacted the state to see if they would be willing to increase their share of the expenditures, and they declined. So that's a project that's going to have to be rebid.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Hearing none. All in favor of deleting action item number 4, Taxiway A East Pavement and Lighting Reconstruction Project Bid Award, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will be deleted. Yes, Mr. Trustee.
I'd like to make a motion to delete action item number 1, which was to award a contract for wastewater treatment plant improvements.
Support.
And the reason for this, there were some areas in the contract that are still under negotiation, and I think the DPS Commission will be talking about that at their meeting this month on the 22nd.
So it's just not ready for
Not
action.
ready.
Okay, questions? Hearing none, all in favor of deleting action item number 1, the awarding of contract for the wastewater treatment plant improvements, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so our agenda as amended will go forward. Just let me make a note here. All right, public comment. Is there, yes, okay. Name, you know the drill, sir. Name and address and 3 minutes.
My name is Kevin Flavin. I live on Parke Lane in Grosville. And what I'd like to address this evening, and I have no pleasure in doing this. I see Mr. Loftus here this evening, former Supervisor Loftus. Tonight, the board is considering the appointment of Mr. Loftus to the Palmer's Park Commission. Brian Loftus, as we all know, was a former supervisor who is responsible for the unnecessarily costly $188,000 losing court battle. The township lost the battle, and his decision to do that cost the township and taxpayers $188,000. Mr. Loftus states he would like to bring his leadership experience to the Commerce Park Commission committee. May I remind board members that Supervisor Loftus and his leadership experience was rejected by the Grosville voters in 2020 when he lost his bid for re-election. I'm sure there are other qualified individuals for this position who would bring a breath of fresh air to that committee. We could do better.
Anyone else? Okay. With that, Mr. Nadeau, consent agenda.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 22-061, which consists of the following: minutes of the November 11th special meeting of the board, minutes of the November 11th closed session, minutes of the November 14th regular meeting, minutes of the December 5th special meeting, check registers dated through December 2nd, 2022, approval to process and distribute payments through December 30th, 2022, accept a board of review resignation, a resolution establishing authorized signatures for the MERS contract and the service credit purchase approvals, defined benefit plan adoption agreement for the police cost of living adjustment bridge, Grosville Municipal AWOS contract, and that's with the state of Michigan. Michigan Spark grant application for the Recreation Department. 33rd District Court 2023 budget, the Downtown Development Authority removal, Downtown Development Authority appointment, Commerce Park Commission resignation, Commerce Park Commission appointment, and a DDA Spark grant application approval.
Thank you. Any questions about anything on there? Hearing none. All in favor of, well.
Does that have to be a roll call?
Pardon me?
Does that have to be a roll call?
No,
Do-
it doesn't. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But if, with no questions, we have a motion for approval of consent agenda 22-061, which includes the minutes of November 11th, 2022 special meeting, minutes of the November 11th, 2022 closed session, minutes of the November 14th, 2022 regular meeting, minutes of the December 5th, 2022 special meeting, the check register dated through December 2nd, 2022, approval to process and distribute payments through December 30th, 2022, Board of Review resignation, resolution establishing authorized signatures for MERS contracts and service credit purchase approvals, Motion for the defined benefit plan adoption agreement for Police Cola Bridge. Motion for the Groseal Municipal AWOS contract with the state. For the Michigan Sparks Grant application for the Rec Department. Approval of the 33rd District Court 2023 budget. Downtown Development Authority removal and Downtown Development Authority appointment. Commerce Park Commission resignation and Commerce Park Commission appointment, and the DDA Sparks Grant application. Roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The amended agenda approval, the consent agenda is approved. Welcome aboard, Mr. Loftus. All right, moving right along, action items. We deleted action item number 1 and action item number 4. So I will make the motion that the Groseal Township Board hereby declares the following parcels surplus. Property ID 00303 0002 000, lot number 2, Nichols and Roberts subdivision. Property ID 01801 0069 001, lot number 69. Property ID 018 01 0015 000, lot 15, and property ID 02902 0021 001, lot 21A, Gray Garden Sub. Furthermore, the Groseal Township Board authorizes the petitioning of the county to vacate road lot number 69. And that these parcels can be sold. Support. Okay. Eric, I'm going to ask you to chime in here.
Sure. I would say probably 2 months ago or so, the Township Board had a study session that covered the review of all the different township-owned parcels around Groseal Township, and these are non-open space parcels, so those that basically the general fund owns. Part of their review included the analysis of all the different parcels by the realtor that was selected by the board quite a few months ago through a competitive bidding process, who assisted us in this review, basically going through the parcels and determining those that had potential value. If you recall, the township did anticipate the disposal of properties within its current fiscal year budget, so that's on track to hopefully dispose of these in accordance with that budget allocation. The parcels that are before you tonight are those parcels that I felt there was consensus among the board during those conversations to go ahead and put on the market. These are parcels that are included in your packet and are indicated as highlighted in page 104 of page 115. This does not include the parcels over by the Centennial Farm. I felt that there was additional conversations that needed to take place regarding those properties. So the only items that have been included for you this evening are these 4 parcels that were indicated in the motion. Following the meeting tonight, it would be my intent then to reach out to our realtor and have her start to actively market these parcels. So that would be the next step. The parcels that are remaining on the list either don't have value or require additional conversation. So we'll move forward on those at a future date if the board decides that it wants to go ahead and dispose of those. Just as a short piece of information, I did have a conversation with Greenways Open Space along with Trustee Bloetscher about their interest in these parcels. They may have interest in one of the properties that are listed this evening. It would be my assumption that that organization, being that it's part of the township, would have first dibs, I guess, per se, in buying those at a market rate. They are, I believe, in the process of doing an analysis as to whether or not they do have that interest. So they would be an interested party, no different than anybody else, with the exception of I would hope that we would take a look at their interest as a priority, being that it's us selling it to ourselves, basically. And
Well, and if they are, I would like to see that interest before we put whatever parcel that is on the
Yep.
market.
I think there are two of the parcels that they have interest in. I think what we'll probably do is, or what we will do, is hold off with Brooke putting those on the market until we get an answer from them. But they have been informed that, time is of the essence here. Our budget year ends April 1, and I'd like to get these on the market and hopefully moving on them before we get outside the fiscal year. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can work that out. Yeah, that won't be a problem. Very good.
That's it.
Any questions? Joe?
Thanks, Jim. Derek, I noticed when I was looking through this on, I think it's 104 of 115, one of the columns was value. When we put these up for sale, is this like, if an individual had a piece of property, they would have an amount rather on it. I didn't see anywhere, do we start somewhere, or how does this work? Because I didn't see, all I see is value. Does she put them up at a certain amount? Because I don't remember even talking about that.
Yeah. So the number that she would put them up at is going to be close to that value. That's her assessment of what the market would bear for these properties. No different than if you were, selling your house, you would bring a realtor in potentially to view, and tell you what it's worth and what you could get on the market. That's basically what she's done for us, and it would be my intent to have her set that value and put it on the market for that value.
That's fine. Yeah, I just didn't see that.
Yep. And obviously, as we go through the purchase process, I'm sure the purchasing entity would end up getting an appraisal. We will not be going off. It's not my intent to go off the tax record as far as what the assessed value is, and doubling that to get the retail value. We're relying on the professional that we've hired to determine the value of these parcels.
I understand that. I just wanted to make sure. How they even, just the process. That's good.
Yeah, this time around, selling this land will be pretty much like if you were selling a piece of land. You go to a realtor, you discuss the price and put it up for that price. So the signs will go up.
And then as far as that parcel that requires the vacation of lot 69, we are going to have to petition the county, obtain ownership, and then do a lot consolidation on those two parcels. So we'll try to get moving on that as quickly as possible, because the value that she's placed on that, in my understanding, it's based upon that lot being a buildable lot with that road end being consolidated. So that's why that's part of the motion, because we need that to make that a marketable parcel.
So there's 3 that will be going up right away.
One that'll be going up right away once we get the answer from Open Space Greenways. Those will go on the market, and then we'll start moving forward tomorrow with petitioning the county for the road end. So it's not.
They're not all 4 going to go at one time.
Right, exactly. And it's not it's not going to be a real quick process, because we've got a couple of things we've got to deal with. But before we sell anything, we have to have a declared surplus, and we need the authorization from the board to go ahead and move through the process of disposing them. That actually brings up a good point. This isn't the final, look at this that you're going to receive. Any kind of purchase agreement will have to be authorized and accepted by the township board. So you'll see these before you again, before we, end up moving.
Thank you for clarifying.
Carl?
I'd like to make one thing further clear, and that is that if Open Space has interest and a financial ability to purchase property, it's going to be an arm's length transaction. Derek will tell us what the price is. We either come up with the money, if we're talking about matching, whatever, but it's an arm's length transaction, and Derek is not going to have any conversations with anybody at Greenways Open Space about price until after Brooke has set her value, what she thinks it's worth. So there's going to be no question of any insider preference or trading or anything on that. We are not going to have any conversations with the township manager until after the price is set.
Thank you, Carl. Anything else? Not hearing any other comments, we have a motion for the Groseal Township Board to hereby declare the following parcel surplus. Property ID 003-03-0002-000, Lot 2, Nichols and Robert Sub. Property ID 018-01-0069-001, Lot 69. Property ID 018-01-0015-000, Lot 15, and property ID 029-02-0021-001, Lot 21A, Gray Garden Sub. Furthermore, that the Township Board authorizes the petitioning of the county to vacate road lot 69 and authorizing, if all that is done, authorizing the sale of the surplus. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We can start work on that, Derek. Thank you. David?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the notice of intent resolution to issue capital improvement bonds for road improvements.
Support?
Thank you. I'll try to get through this. I may have to call on Derek, but the recently approved road millage, the intent is to go out for bonds at a level of about $6.5 million to do the projects on township roads. This notice is to publish the notice of our intent to go out for bonds. It's not the approval of the bonds, it's not approval of the final amount. It's just notice that we're going out for bonds. And that's a 45-day wait period before we can go forward following this, following the publishing of the notice.
Questions? The notice is in your packets. Joe, do you have any question? Okay.
I might take a roll call vote.
It's not a resolution. Oh, it is notice of intent resolution. Okay, we will take a roll call. All right, so we have a motion to approve the attached notice of intent resolution to issue capital improvement bonds for road improvements. Carl?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We can put our notice out and start towards getting our roads fixed. All right, that is the end of our action items, which brings us back to public comment. Kathy?
Last week's study session.
Can I have your name and...
Oh, I'm sorry. 26051 Thorpe Court. Last week's study session, the board voted to accept Chief Beaudry's unexpected retirement. I didn't know you could vote at a study session. I thought you couldn't, but whether you
I believe
accepted
it was a special
Kathy, It
meeting.
was a special
Special.
meeting.
That's different than studies.
Followed this.
Okay, whatever. Since the public, it wasn't taped, so since the public is not probably aware of it, I just wanted to mention that I personally found Chief Beaudry to be an exemplary employee. When he took my husband and with his crew out of the house, and my husband weighed 250 pounds, they were so professional, and he was so in control. And I was so sorry to hear that he was retiring. I think the Grosse Ile Township lost a true asset when he retired, and I'm sorry that he did. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Kevin Flavin. My understanding was that the questions that were able to be read to the board, that was a real-time, people could send a question in during the meeting to have them answered at the end of the meeting.
No, they could send in comments,
That's what I'm saying.
not questions.
Comments.
Yes.
Okay. That's not what happens here.
I will answer this, even though it's.
But I don't want to spend my time discussing this. What I want to do is, Mr. Karmazin has sent something in to be read, which I think is very important, and I would like to read it. And I will read his comment. Greg Karmazin, taxpayer, homeowner at 21228 East River Road, Grosse Ile, and resident of Clinton Township. I have a comment about the agenda item number 2, declare township property surplus and authorize sale. I commend the township board for hiring a real estate professional to review the township-owned properties which potentially could be sold to raise money for the township and reduce stewardship obligations. I attended the township board special meeting October 24th when the township real estate professionals presented a report on her findings about estimated value and potential uses of the properties. I believe the township board had a productive discussion overall about the presentation. While I trust the opinion of the township's real estate professional, as a matter of principle, I believe that any township-owned real estate with more than a nominal market value should always be appraised by a professional real estate appraiser who, as a member of the Appraisal Institute MAI certification prior to establishing market sale prices. Having a professional written MAI appraisal would help to guarantee that township-owned real estate is priced appropriately for the market based on documentation that is widely recognized as best practices for real estate asset management. Moreover, a MAI appraisal for property proposed for sale would establish a permanent written record which should be reviewed and discussed by township board members during a public meeting to ensure there is maximum transparency, accountability when the township board votes on whether or not to place a property on the market for a specific price. At least 3 of the township-owned properties proposed for sale have an estimated market value in excess of $100,000, so there is a solid justification for having a MAI appraisal that would be used as a reference in setting a market sale price. It is my understanding that the township board has not obtained a MAI appraisal for the properties being proposed for sale on the agenda tonight. As a result, I urge the township board to consider postponing a vote on the sale of these properties at a specific price until a MAI appraisal can be obtained. Finally, if the township is successful in selling any of these properties, I believe the township board should vote during a township board business meeting on an amendment to the township's budget before allocating the net proceeds of a sale for a specific purpose. It is my understanding that the Michigan Department of Treasury recommends that municipalities use an open budget amendment process when there is a significant variance from the appointed or approved budget caused
you would
by an
wrap
action
it up,
of
please.
municipal legislative bodies. Thank you for your time and consideration. I also, that's Greg's comment.
Yes.
I have a personal comment of my own.
You had your 3 minutes. You're
So-
up there. That's not,
Well, then, let's go back and ask the question, why can't people have real-time questions or comments to the board? When you said you would do that,
We said it's.
Some time ago when we
and
talked
school board,
about
and
Zoom.
questions
your
are,
take-
questions are answered.
You said you don't answer questions.
Take questions back and answer them. We don't
Where
answer
do
them
you
here.
answer them?
Pardon me?
Where?
What do you mean where?
Where
Back
do
to
you
the
answer those
office. When I go
questions?
back to the office, I'll call them or
Call who?
email whoever puts in the question.
Okay, so are the questions real time or not?
No, the questions aren't real time. They're not going to be answered here. They're going to be answered out of this meeting, outside of this meeting, which is what we never said we were going to answer questions
That
in
was
the
the
meeting.
understanding that you
That
would
was
have.
your understanding.
No,
That
that
was
was the
your
board's
understanding,
understanding.
and we are not doing it. All right. Yes.
One second
absolutely.
before Brian goes, let me just
Yes.
explain
Yes.
the end of the public comments here. My laptop was acting up. There's only two ways for me to check that public comment email: my laptop or that computer at the podium. I can't switch the computer at the podium because I still have an equipment issue. My laptop was acting up. I'm using a different laptop. I can't get to that email. That's why. I checked it at 2 minutes to 7 before this meeting, and I did not have an email to read. Usually I would have my laptop right here. I check it the entire meeting. I read if anything comes in. I can't do that tonight. That's where we're at.
Thank you, Brian. And Brian, the other Brian.
Brian Loftus, 165 Broadhead, Grosse Ile. First, just because this just came up, that was my policy for 12 years. We don't answer questions at the board because we have to get it right, and we have no idea where the questions are coming from, how involved they are. Gives us time to go back, research, get the right answer out the first time to the resident, and I applaud you for continuing that. It's actually the only realistic way of doing it. And I want to thank the board for their support and bringing me back to the airport, back on the Airport Commerce Park Commission. We'll get things done. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Moving on to reports. Brian, do you have anything for the clerk's office? Did Uda leave anything?
No, I do not.
Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Budny. By now, everybody should have received their winter tax bill. They were mailed the first week in December.
Yeah.
I hand-delivered yours, Joe.
Yeah.
If you have not,
Christmas.
if you have not received your tax bill, please contact the treasurer's office to confirm that we have the proper mailing address. Mortgage companies that request a copy for their escrowed loan accounts receive a duplicate copy of the bill. And tax bills can be paid at Township Hall, on our website, or in person at the Public Service Credit Union on Macomb. Winter tax bills are due February 14th, and eligible residents can apply for an extension of the due date to April 30th, 2023. And the deferment applications are available at the treasurer's office or online at groseile.com. And again, 2023 pet tags are now available at Township Hall. See Andrea in the cashier's office, and the fee is currently $6. And the next DPS meeting is, would normally have been tomorrow, but we needed some more time before the commission met to review the wastewater treatment plant situation, and so our meeting has been moved to December 22nd. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, David. Mr. Bloetscher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have 3 matters. Number 1, I have the pleasure of sitting on the Open Space Greenways Committee. We are looking at possible purchasing of any of 4 pieces of property from the township. We have a walkthrough that we're going to attempt to do between the holidays, that is between Christmas and New Year's. Our next meeting is, as always, the first Tuesday of the month, and we're going to be meeting at 7 p.m. to make a recommendation to the board to purchase properties and express our interest in some of the parcels that are out there. And I'd also like to take this time to thank Township Manager Thiel. Very busy night. He came to our meeting, spent about an hour, as I recall, Derek, and explained all of the ins and outs of the purchase, the process that's going to be used, and what the possible uses of the properties were. We took the unusual step of asking Derek what his thoughts were about the parcels, and recognizing he's not only lived here for almost all of his life, but also from the standpoint that he has insight as to what we want to do, what could possibly be done with some of the properties, and what the likely prices would be in terms of ultimate sales price. Would there be something that we could do? We have a finite amount of money, and Mr. Thiel said, here are the facts, and here's what you have to work with. Sit down, sort it out, and get back to me. And we're going to do that at our meeting on Tuesday, January 3rd. Second thing I have is I want to thank John Paul and the entire Girls Eel Golf and Country Club staff. They had a holiday party luncheon for township employees on Sunday, December 11th. We had approximately 32 employees attend. It was a phenomenal lunch, a full salad bar, a full dessert bar, a full meat bar, and appetizers. And thanks to John Paul and all of the wonderful people over there for making it happen, and truly helping, as Brian Loftus has said, to make Girls Eel a special place. And we want to thank Girls Eel Golf and Country Club for that. Finally, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, best wishes for a healthy, happy New Year, and look forward to seeing everybody in 2023. That's staff, all the citizens, and everyone else that may be watching here tonight. Merry Christmas to everybody. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Carl. Joe?
Good evening. I sit on the Police Commission, and it's the third Tuesday of the month in this room at 7 p.m. And just to let you know a couple things that came up. We did have a special meeting on some funding issues, obviously, that we need to look at for the future. And we also had a regular meeting, and at that regular meeting, I came up, the last Township Board meeting, I had a couple of proposals that I came up with that I think would help the longevity of the county bridge that we're going to look into. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've already looked into the first one. What I propose is changing the speed limit on that bridge from 35 to 25. It used to be an engineer-suggested speed of 25. What that means is in Michigan, if you see a yellow, just to be honest with you, if you see a yellow and black sign, it's not enforceable, it's engineer suggested. So I wanted it changed, and I think that would help, obviously, in the longevity, because if you know how trucks work, through my accident investigation experience, the weight is exponentially, if you will, it rises exponentially when trucks use their brakes. And if we can do anything to help that bridge, I think we're going to do that. But Jim, am I wrong? Did you contact the count?
I am in contact with them, and that has been put out to them.
Thank you. That was given to me that night. So the other thing is, I also asked the police chief to look into their own unit that would be, it's equivalent to the Weighmaster for Wayne County. It's a weights and measures unit. When I was a chief, we had one individual that was certified in this, and right now what would happen is we'd have to purchase all the products, which is the weights, the scales rather, the measures, and you have to have some type of vehicle to put it in, which is usually a larger vehicle like an SUV. But I asked them to come up with pricing on that, and we do the extras in the police department when I was there through forfeiture money, and I wanted to see if this was a possibility. And is it feasible, or is it viable that would actually help the longevity of that bridge? And you'd have certain times of the day. This wouldn't be all the time, obviously, but when you had 3 individuals on a shift, the one individual that would be certified would be assigned to the bridge area. And even other areas they could do it. And all they have to do is do what they're trained to do, and we'll see what happens. But I asked him to come up with something, a program, and the cost of that program. And again, everything, you have to understand, everything has a cost to it. And not everything can be done. I mean, we all know that there's people in here that have been in the township, on the township board, running the township, and they know there's a cost to everything. So we're going to weigh that out, and anything, obviously, in a proposal would come back to the township board, and also for the first issue, any type of funding issue that we come up with that we think will be helpful in the future will come to the township board in a proposal style. So that is it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Mr. Township Manager?
Mr. Supervisor and Township Trustees, just a couple of items tonight. Just to inform the residents, this is the last week for yard waste for this calendar year. So those of you that had yard waste out today, because you're a normal Monday pickup, that'll be your last one for the year. Those that have pickup tomorrow will be the last day. Just wanted to let the residents know Christmas trees will be picked up. I believe the 2 pickup dates after Christmas. So even though some might consider those yard waste, I believe they're disposed of like regular refuse. So those will be picked up even though yard waste ends this week. This is our time of the year for water main breaks. Matter of fact, we had 2 today. So if you do encounter low water pressure, there likely is a water main break in the vicinity of your home. We usually try to fix them within 24 hours of them occurring, and we have a pretty good process that usually yields those results. If you do have a water main break in the vicinity of your home, make sure you run the water until the water is clear. Once water is restored, and don't do any wash until that water runs clear, so you don't ruin any of your laundry. But just to be aware that happens this time of the year, and if you end up coming up with low water pressure one morning, that's more than likely the case, and more than likely we're going to be on top of it, and it should be restored fairly shortly. Have been getting a number of phone calls about our cross-connection survey letter that has gone out. A second notice was distributed, I believe, last week because they're trying to catch any that didn't respond with the first notice. Just so residents are reminded, it's a survey answered to your best of your ability. It asks questions about different uses within your home and different potential backflow prevention piece of equipment you might have. There's even pictures in there, so you don't have to know exactly the terminology, but just match the pictures up if you have something like that in your home associated with your sprinkler system or something. Just try to answer it the best that you can. And just to remind you, this really is to protect the residents. There is the possibility during a water main break that water can actually be siphoned out of your home and areas of your home that might have contaminated water, like your sprinkler system. So backflow prevention measures, backflow preventers are important, and they're part of the plumbing code to make sure that can't happen, and then that water enter our water system and then get distributed to your neighbors and whatnot, and could make them ill. So we're trying to identify where those might exist within the township, what kind that they are, and any potential use that might exist that might need to have backflow preventers. So that's the reason that we're doing that in a nutshell. So just do your best to answer those questions. If you have any questions, there's a phone number on that letter you can call, or you can call Township Hall. We'll try to do our best to explain it to you. So just wanted to mention that. As the supervisor, the trustee, treasurer had mentioned earlier, the DPS meeting is next week on the 22nd. We're going to be reviewing the ACO work. We did receive one bid for that project. So we are analyzing that in the hopes that we'll be able to bring that to you for your January meeting for an award, but we want to make sure that our due diligence has been done to make sure that if we're asking you to approve it, that we're comfortable with the contractor, the price, that it's within market, and all other conditions that might exist with that project. So that's what we're currently working on, and as has been mentioned by others, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. I have a real short report tonight. First of all, DDA, which I sit on, meets next Tuesday, the 20th. I want to thank everybody that contacted me and sent me their well wishes and sympathy for the passing of my brother He was a fireman, volunteer fireman for 56 years at the Groseal Fire Department. And I just want to thank everybody, and my family wants to thank everybody for their kind thoughts. Also, this being the holiday season, I certainly want to wish everybody out there and here a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know at Christmas time, it's a time kind of to look forward, what's going to be under the tree, what am I going to be getting? But I would ask that you take a few moments and reflect on what you have. Think about your family, your friends, and everything that you have, and appreciate what you have. It just might make your Christmas a little bit better. So, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And with that, I would entertain a
Motion to
motion.
adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.